Alright, what's going on, guys? This is Logan with West Desert Shooter. We are back with another reloading and results. This time, we're playing with the Sierra 77 grains in 223 Remington in my semi-automatic Uintah Precision AR-15 yet again. I've been doing a series on this where I've just tested a bunch of different powders with the same load components. So we're doing the same brass, we're doing the same overall length, and we're using the same lot of bullets. I think I've switched primers like once. I think I did one round where I swapped primers, which is probably a mistake. I should have just kept shooting the same stuff. Regardless, today we're going to be shooting Federal AR small rifle match primers. That's what we're loading up in these rounds in particular. The PMC brass that we're shooting has been fired once to twice. It got a little bit mixed up around the first time when I cleaned it all, and so that's what we're dealing with here. We've got 3 powders for today, and with the Sierra 77s, all 3 of these should work really good. I'm very excited to going into this video to see what these results will be. So first up, I just got this powder, Reloder 15.5, so temperature stable 15.5. Next up, one of my old favorites with the 77s, or the 75s at least, Hodgdon Varget. I used that in my PSA AR-15, and it had an excellent shooting round that I shot long range, and I had a lot of fun with it. Finally, another new powder for me. I finally found some Vihtavuori N140. So, looking forward to seeing how all of these do. All of these are a similar burn rate. So I've actually written down the burn rate according to Hodgdon's burn rate chart, which is on the internet, so it's as up to date as possible. Looks like Reloder 15.5 falls in the 119 place. Varget is 113, and N140 is 112. So these two are neighbors. These sit really close to each other. And then this one with a higher number means it's a bit slower than these two are. Should be fun to get out and test in this video. So for the actual load data, as far as that's concerned, our charges for each powder, it ended up that I could use the same charge weight for all 3 of these. They're very similar powders, and so I just loaded all of these rounds with 23.5 grains. I felt comfortable as far as where their charge weight was versus the maximum and all that, and this is a pretty well below the max listed loads for any of these. And I've shot Varget up to 24, I think I've shot it up to like 25 grains in the 223 with a 75 grain. So I feel confident that that's going to be okay. These are new powders to me, but they're so similar, and following the reloading data online as well, we should be in good hands. No big deal here. So that should pretty much covers it. Let's get out to the range. We'll shoot some groups. I've got a target camera for you in this video. We're going to watch those bullets appear on paper, and then we'll get back to the bench and recap what happened while we were out on the range. All right, guys, we got our Vihtavuori N140 loaded up in the magazine. We've got our Uintah Precision UPR15. We've got our Track Toric Ultra HD. This guy is my 4-25, so it has a ton of adjustment in this thing. It's an excellent scope. I really like it. Matching billet upper and lower. This is their semi-auto variant from Uintah Precision. I have a matching bolt action upper to go with this gun as well. MDT Skypod up front. We've got our AB suppressor out front here, and I just did a 0 check without ears, and I gotta say, at the shooter's ear, it is just a little bit snappy with the semi-auto gas gun, so I did throw in some ears. I don't need my ears ringing all day, and typically I kind of don't care about that, but it was a pretty significant report at the shooter's ear, and this is their Raptor 6-stack out on the end of it. Outside that, pretty standard AR-15 stuff. Love this gun, shoots really good. It's a 16-inch barrel, 1-to-8 twist with a mid-length gas system. So this thing's been dead reliable. It's been an excellent shooter for me. So let's see if we can lay down some groups. Our first group of the day shot 5 rounds. That was 5 minutes ago, and didn't put the barrel cool in it or anything. It is a cool morning out here, so the rifle is in a slightly warmed up state. The suppressor is basically like air temperature at this point, so it's not hot or anything, and looking forward to shooting. I don't have a suppressor cover on here because I bought a suppressor cover for the length with the reflex on this can, and to run it on this gun, because it has a long fore end, I can't run the reflex with it. So there we go. I just don't have I don't have a cover that fits over this right now. Arm our chronograph real quick from Utah Airguns, the FX True Ballistic. N140, let's see what it can do. This is supposed to be really good stuff. Very nice. Velocities are looking good.
So I'm going to let the rifle cool down for just a minute. I'm going to collect a 10 shot string for velocity average and standard deviation. We're going to shoot 2 5-shot groups.
Let's see if N140 can hold it together. That one felt good. Okay. Well, all right. I mean, that's just how it goes. Yeah, we lost a little bit of consistency here on the back end. Okay, guys, moving on to Reloder TS 15.5. Reloder 15.5. Reloder 15.5. I don't know. It's got a long name. First shots ever with this powder. Same with N140, and to no surprise, I was impressed with it. So, here we go. Reloder 15.5, the same powder charge. Let's see how it stacks up. We're going to be shooting the same powder charge across all 3 as we've talked about. So, should be interesting. I did not check my N140 brass as I shot. We'll take a look at our velocity. I'll probably check the 15.5. It's a little bit slower powder, and so I'm kind of interested to see how it stacks up. Holy cow, that brass went flying. Velocity looks totally normal. I'm shooting next to a hillside and it went down the hillside. Looks great. I did make a correction on the scope, so if the point of impact has shifted, it's because I've changed the scope input. Second shot speed was way lower. Let the rifle cool off for just a minute, and then we'll move on to string number 2. Second string of Reloder 15.5. Not impressive velocities on this, and overall though, very similar average velocity, but consistency is not king with Reloder 15.5 in this application. Okay guys, we got Varget, and we've got 23.5 grains. My old pet load on my PSA AR-15 was 24 grains of Varget and a Hornady 75 grain boat tail hollow point. With the Sierra 77s, I don't believe I've tried Varget in this rifle. So excited to see how this goes. Longtime favorite, and truthfully, the groups were always about what we've seen so far today. So I've never gotten great velocity consistency with Varget. It's been pretty good, but in my experience, it's never been great. And so many people talk about like, oh man, Varget, you put it in there, super consistent every time, and it has never worked out for me. So I don't know what it is, but hopefully we find that super consistent load for us here today, or at a minimum, it just shoots good. I'd be happy if it just shot good. So let's see how this goes. I know this rifle likes this bullet, and I know that I've had good luck with Varget before, so hopefully it comes together. And I've got a lot more experience shooting Varget. I'm not worried about pressure with 23.5 grains. I've shot it higher than this and not had pressure, so we're good today. Why is this not talking to it? Okay, well, we gotta go with what our chrono's telling us, because it's like my phone didn't pick that up, which is interesting. Okay, my phone is not picking these up. I have no idea why. I think it's because I changed the settings on the chronograph and it might have disconnected the Bluetooth or something weird. Okay, this thing is chucking the brass out of this. Horrible looking group. That's really interesting. And velocities, not impressive. That's really weird. Unfortunately, without my phone being hooked up, I can't see individual shots as easy. Okay guys, what just a terrible start for Varget. It looked awful. So the problem with shooting an awful group with a load is that even if the second group looked really good, I can't trust it. So we'll see how this goes. I don't expect a vast improvement here, as it's the exact same thing. Also, on the pressure side of things, the brass, we got slight burrs, and it's right on the edge of like, I don't really want to do this anymore. Like, I wouldn't push this past 23.5 grains in this gun. This gun seems to be a little bit sensitive to pressure. It shows the signs pretty early. So I almost wonder if I need an adjustable gas block on this guy to
calm it down a bit. We are shooting a non-flow-through can today. Maybe that's increasing our bolt pressure. I am noticing a bit more gas coming out of my charging handle area, which typically with the Huxworks cans I don't see. But I'm shooting this can on this gun today specifically to test it with an AR, and I'm going to do a full review on this can soon. So we're going to talk about that later. Man, if you were to put those groups on top of each other on the target, that'd be an absolutely awful group as a 10-shot group. It's stringing from that right edge of the top diamond all the way down to the right edge of the bottom diamond. If I measure that in my scope, it's like 0.8 mils for a group. That's just bad. This is really surprising me. I was convinced today I was going to come out and shoot like excellent velocities and excellent groups across the target. And it didn't happen with Varget. That's really weird. Super interesting. Really interesting. Because I've shot this gun with Sierra 69s and Varget a lot. And it seems to do well. Very odd. Nothing's loose. Gun's still shooting. Really weird stuff.
Okay guys, we are back at the bench. Let's talk about our results from today, because this is reloading and results. I don't really show reloading in this anymore, just because, like, I'm going to show you what, weighing powder charges and seating bullets, the same bullets at the same length. I don't even mess with my seating die anymore, and so like it's all really straightforward. One thing I did do, we can talk about this. I just got a L.E. Wilson full-length bushing sizing die. This is a seating die here, but this is an L.E. Wilson die. I just got a L.E. Wilson full-length bushing die, and I had fully prepped brass that was ready to go, but the headspace was wrong for this rifle. This rifle has a little bit tighter chamber than my previous rifle did, and so I took the bushing out and used it essentially as a body die, and when resizing it, I could feel that like all it was really doing was just bumping that shoulder back. So I moved those back a few thousandths. Just used some Hornady one-shot lube on those for like 32 cases. I ended up nicking one of the cases, and then the one remaining case that I had, I just threw in my box here for the next time I reload. No big deal there. So yeah, this brass, yeah, I guess it might be fired more than once or twice. It could be 3 to 4, I'm not sure. But we'll deal with that later. I've got a new annealing machine I'm going to be playing with, and I think 223 is where I want to learn how to use it, because I've got the most 223 brass, and it's also the most affordable. If I destroy it, I can move on and not feel too bad about it. So let's get over to our first group of the day. I didn't record these because it was my zero check and just wanted to confirm that my chronograph was working and stuff like that. And it was a load that has shot really well for us in a previous video. And in that previous video, we shot Hodgdon benchmark powder. And I ended up loading quite a bit of the benchmark. I think I loaded 50 rounds. Ended up doing a zero check previously, and then today I shot 2 5-shot groups. So I'm down to like 30 something, let's see, yeah, 30 something rounds, whatever. 35 I believe is what it is. So I've got a few of those loaded up, which makes a good like baseline for, hey, how's the rifle shooting, all that fun stuff. Previously it shot into like the 0.3s. It shot 2 groups really consistently, really well. So our first group of the day, sending it down range, had some really weird things going on with the velocities on our first round with this powder. And essentially on a graph, it would shoot the first round with a high velocity, and then it would trend down in speed. And then it kind of tapered out on the last 2 shots. Who's to say what that trend is going to continue doing if you keep shooting? Maybe that's something that this AR-15 does. I haven't really paid attention, and maybe I need to. That the first round of this rifle shoots fast, or maybe it's just the benchmark load. I'm not entirely sure. However, how did it go? First group, we shot a .72. So I fired that first group, and then I shot N140, both groups. I walked down, shut off the target camera, and came back with the rifle cool in the barrel. So it would have been cooling off for 5 minutes or so. And then I shot the next 5 off camera as well with the Hodgdon benchmark. And our second group did the exact same thing on the velocities, which is really interesting. And then we got a 0.73 inch group. So super consistent, really liking how consistent that is. The group size, not quite what we saw originally with that 0.3 to 0.4 range, but 0.72, 0.73, it's a semi-auto gas gun. I'm not mad about that at all. I mean, that's well under an MOA, and I think it's doing pretty well. As far as the consistency of the velocities, that's where things get a little bit meh. With the full 5 shots on both of them, we had an SD of 24. So I shot a 5-shot group for the first round, got the velocity there, had an SD of 24. I shot the second group across 5 shots, I had an SD of 24. If I drop the first shot on both of them, then it goes to the low. One of them got a 12.8, one of them got a 13.6. So both of them, that first round is really what hurts them, and then it slowly trends down in velocity. So just kind of weird how consistent it was across those 2 5-shot groups. They looked very similar. So kind of weird there. But they both shot pretty well. As far as loading up more and shooting more of that benchmark, that would be a concern for me. If I'm shooting long range with the 223, I really can't have these huge spreads and speeds, because once you start shooting at smaller targets at 700 plus yards, then you're going to start landing high and low depending on which velocity you get when it comes out of the gun. So you want to keep it as consistent as you can, but it is a tricky thing to do in a gas gun. You know, they typically generate a higher spread and a higher SD compared to a bolt gun, in my experience. So now let's go on to our groups that we actually saw get fired. N140. So first group of the day, N140. Let's take a look at these groups. A 0.45 inch group, so really looking good on that first one. As you can see next to it, we had a 0.94, and really that was just kind of due to that one bullet that went off to the right. So I noted that in my notes, that just one bullet outside of the group, and it wasn't a pulled shot. It felt fine when I shot it, so I can't say that's a flyer. Just for some reason, that bullet did not want to go into the group like the other ones did. I also have as a note, the first group that I shot, which was a better group, that measured out as a better group, I had more of a shaky mirage, and then I actually had better conditions on my second group when I had that one bullet go outside the group. So that's kind of interesting there. The shaky mirage is just a higher breeze coming through that I could see, and I accidentally was shooting with my magnification on all the way up to 25, and typically I shoot on like 18 power is kind of what I like to shoot on at 100 yards. And so I did back that off for our second group as well. So the velocities on N140, across 10 shots, we got an average velocity of 25.69 with an SD of 14.2, ES of 53. The SD in the low teens it's getting there for an AR-15. That's pretty good. And as we see through the rest of the day, this is actually the best SD we're going to get today. So let's move on to Reloder 15.5. This guy's going to shoot an average a little bit slower, but as it turns out, shot 2 really good groups. So let's take a look at these 2 groups. Fairly consistent in where they were all landing. I think if you shot a 10-shot group into there, it would look pretty good stacked on top of each other if you were to make a composite target or something like that. So our first group, the 0.55, just kind of all neatly scattered in a small area. And then the second group, looks like we had 4 all into one small area, and then 1 just outside of those 4, somewhat vertical, a little bit horizontal, a little bit of an angle, I should say. So both those groups, our first one 0.55, our second group 0.58. So 2 groups into the halves. So pretty happy with that. Unfortunately, velocities is really where this kind of was a letdown. And we had an SD of 23.6 with a spread of 67. And going back and looking at the velocities, my app can chart them out, and it's just zigzagging up and down. So very inconsistent in speeds. So that's a bit of a letdown. Like I say, I don't know that I would necessarily want that for shooting long range, although everything else should be good for long range with this, right? We're getting good velocities, we're getting good groups, and it's temperature stable. Unfortunately, I'm just not getting that consistent muzzle velocity that I would really like to have in this. Finally, we're going to get on to the surprise of the day, Hodgdon Varget. I've had really good luck with this previously, and I don't know what it is about this combination my rifle doesn't like, but it sure did not like it. The one group we shot over an inch today was our first round with Varget. Looking at that, scattered them all over the target, 1.31, and then our second group of a 0.97. And as I mentioned in the field, I made no scope adjustments between these 2 groups. So if I were to shoot 10-shot group into the target over here, I mean, we're going to get like an over a 2-inch group, like just bad. And I don't know what the difference is there. My aiming point was the top of the top diamond. And that's where those groups landed, just not having it with the Varget and the 77s. Really surprising to me. I did not expect this at all. I was really anticipating showing up to the range today and shooting little groups all across, because like in Sierra's data, it shows the N140 is like one of the most accurate powders. I know Reloder 15 has been a favorite in the 223 with the heavies for a long time amongst a lot of people. And in my own experience, I've shot good groups with Varget. So like everything here should have been just absolutely driving them in there. But Varget is the one that let me down today. That's kind of a bummer. As far as velocities with Varget, 2611. So this guy is the fastest of the day. With an SD of 28.3, our worst SD, and our biggest spread of 87 FPS. Yeah, not having it. That's really too bad. So let's see, where does that put us? N140 is the middle charge, Reloder 15.5 was the slow charge, and then Varget was the fast one. So N140 is absolutely what I'm considering moving forward with. That one shot outside the group doesn't scare me off too much. As long as it can sink 9 into a good group out of 10, that's pretty consistent in my book, and it's got the best extreme spread and velocities as well. So that's going to give us our best chance at hitting targets out at distance. Super fun. I want to put together a video where I recap all of my 77 grain loads and talk about the highs and lows of all of them, put them in one neat video and just kind of put that together. If you guys are interested in just seeing a condensed version of like all the data that I have for these 77s, then I can definitely do that. And I have more powders to play with too, so I'm going to continue playing with these Sierra 77s in this AR-15 and see if we can just find like the ultimate 77 grain load for this rifle. What I really care about is having good velocity. I'm not chasing really high velocities, as I've spoken about before. I'm not trying to clone Mark 262. My gun doesn't really seem to like pushing it more than that. Like I mentioned in the video, maybe I need a gas block on this thing to back off the gases, and you know, maybe I can turn it up a little bit, but then maybe it's just the dwell time with this mid-length gas system. I really don't know. Whereas my PSA AR-15 was a rifle length gas system. Maybe it's just a little bit softer on the actual action and not beating up my brass so bad. So there's lots of little things to consider here, but overall the rifle runs great, and it shoots great as well. I did use the AB suppressor in this video. Now, typically I shoot with my Huxworks 7.62 can, and that's a flow-through can, so it's not, from the outside, if you're standing nearby, it's going to be the Huxworks will be louder, whereas at the shooter's ear, I've heard this discussed in Huxworks like promotional content where they're like, yeah, it's a little bit louder overall, but you get a better noise signature at the shooter's ear. And I can say with this Raptor on my 223 today, it was a little bit uncomfortable. Like I went to Ear Pro with the AR-15, and typically I'm pretty mean to my eardrums apparently, and I don't shoot with Ear Pro because it is kind of comfortable enough for me. But in this particular combo, I needed Ear Pro on that. It was just starting to ring my ears a bit, and I was like, yeah, there's no point in beating up my ears all day. So yeah, they're pretty interesting there. I do have an AB Raptor video coming up on that. Overall, it's a positive review for sure. But I did notice that just, you know, going from a flow-through can to the Raptor, I'm getting a lot more gases back in my face, seeing the gases seep out of the charging handle and whatnot. It's just how it goes. I mean, it's a traditional baffle can, and yeah, I can't put the reflex on my AR-15 that I was shooting today, so you don't get that additional blast chamber room like I do with my 7mm 08 or my other rifles that have room on the barrel for that reflex to go over the barrel. So we'll cover more of that in a suppressor review, but just a little sneak peek into what I'm doing there. I really didn't want to do the review until I got some rounds through my AR-15, and I've shot enough through it just to like, yeah, okay, I think I get what's going on here. So overall, guys, I hope you enjoyed that. One cool thing I did here is I added up all my group sizes, and then I created an average group size for the day across 8 groups. So we had 6 here, plus the 2 benchmarks that we did not film. And our average group size for the day is 0.78 across 8 groups. This rifle shoots, and that's including the bad groups with Varget. So if we had shot, you know, 3/4 groups with Varget, it probably would have been pushing more towards like 0.65 if we were to get rid of the bad ones. But we're not doing that. overall the average was 0.78 even with the bad ones. This rifle only shot one group outside of an inch today with all these different combinations. It's really awesome, and I'm really enjoying this thing from Uintah Precision. It's not a cheap AR-15, but I can tell you it's really high quality. Everything on there is solid, and that thing shoots. Like, ultimately, that's what I really care about. If the gun didn't shoot, I wouldn't be doing a lot of content on it like this. So, you know, that's what I have to say about the Uintah Precision UPR15 semi-auto. I do have a review on that. It's 2 years old or so now. I went back and watched that recently just to like see how that was. I'm proud of that review. It turned out really well. I've got a lot of shooting footage in there. I shot a bunch of different ammo in it with factory ammo, reloads, all that stuff, suppressed, unsuppressed, and like, it's a solid review. Check that out if you're interested in the Uintah Precision gas gun. Thank you guys for your time. We will catch you in the next one.